What's going on, folks? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. Hey, listen, if you're here to talk about Survivor, tonight's episode, you could not be in a better place because that is exactly what we're going to do. Um, yeah, so how impressive was Noelle tonight? Look, a lot happened. She had one of the, in my opinion, one of the most bizarre episode arcs. We'll get into it. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by the Really Hood Podcast, available everywhere. I know that I haven't done a new episode in quite some time, but I assure you that some new material is on the way. The Really Hood Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this episode starts off with Carla, who is upset she was left out of the vote. Jesse feels he's in a good spot. Jesse also has two idols. Who knew about the two idols that Jesse has? I didn't know he had two idols, but apparently he does. Jesse feels he's in a swing position. That was a secondary question. Who had the more impressive episode tonight? Some of the people I want to throw out there are Jesse, Noelle, and Cassidy. Of those three players, whose game or gameplay do you respect most? If we're just talking about tonight, if we exclude every other episode, those are the three players who I felt had the most incredible episodes tonight. What are your thoughts on that? But anyway, the winner of this week's reward challenge was invited to a luxury sanctuary. The challenge was a dizzying obstacle course. And wow, tonight's obstacle or reward challenge was insane. Several different, several parts to it. I've really liked the contraption in which you turn and you spin. And that reminded me of some games that I see on Big Brother, where you have to make yourself dizzy and then run a obstacle course. So to see that implemented in this way was really amazing, if I can be honest. And we all thought the exact same thing, I'm sure, and that was Noelle had zero chance of doing anything that she did in this episode because she starts off. Everyone is pretty dizzy at the beginning of this challenge, but then they have to. And I don't know who crafted this maniacal game, but after you're dizzy, you have to climb over a net, and then from there you have to balance yourself on a balance beam. And then the fourth part, or the fourth iteration of this particular competition, is throwing a bean bag on a pole that appears to be about 20 feet in the air. So this was an insane challenge, and we all saw it. And it was very difficult to watch, if I might be honest. And it was Noelle struggling to balance, giving her handicap balance on that balance beam. In fact, she had to start over, if I'm counting correctly, about 6 to 7 different times. And you're seeing Carla, you're seeing Jesse, you're seeing Cody throwing their beanbag. You see Sammy at one point almost win, and you just have no idea what's coming your way. But anyway, eventually Noelle gets across the balance beam and she wins. She wins the challenge. How impressive was Noelle for winning that challenge? For those people who don't watch Survivor, for those people who don't remember this episode, for those people who don't even know who Noelle is, let me provide a little context so that you can, possibly or at least try to understand why I'm so impressed. Okay. Noelle has a prosthetic limb. She was a fierce competitor until she had an accident which left her handicapped. And, against, I'm sure, a lot of people's better judgment, she still came on the show Survivor, which is a very, very grueling competition in which you have to run, swim, spin. And she, in this particular competition, she's dizzy. She's trying to balance on the balance beam, which is very, very difficult to do when you have a limb that Noelle has. It's like this metal limb, and the bottom where the foot would go is this balancing. I forget this elastic material that allows her to have some buoyancy, and you see her struggle time after time on this balance beam. And I would argue that this particular beam was difficult, would be difficult for anybody to balance on, let alone someone who has the condition that Noelle has. So to see her go through all of that and then turn around and win the competition, look, I, I'll be honest. I'll go on record as saying I'm not a fan of Noelle. I haven't been I've never been a fan of Noelle, especially after last week, after she orchestrated the hit on James. I like James just enough to be a little upset right now. But even I had to do a slow clap because that was incredibly impressive. You even heard Noelle say something that I was really surprised about. And she said if she had both of her limbs, she might have quit tonight. So it was the fact that she had to work harder to get to where she was or to win. That's what pushed her. And I thought that was a really interesting message. Sometimes, as people, we take our gifts or the things we're granted for granted. We take the fact that we have two arms, two legs, 2 feet. We take that for granted. I mean, did you can you imagine only having one leg, one anything, one eye? Can you imagine that? And of course you can. Of course you haven't. But that is some people's reality. And to see her, overcome the way that she did tonight, I have to say I was incredibly impressed. My man Tim is in the building. What's up? I didn't get to the show tonight, but I wanted to stop and say what's up. At, I was checking out your content today, which I'm sure you probably saw a whole bunch of little messages pop up. If you don't know, Tim is my good friend on YouTube, and he's an amazing guy. He does tents, he does custom t-shirts, embroidery, and I highly encourage you to go ahead and click on T Town's page. He has some amazing content. Amazing guy. Always supports me, even when nobody else does. My man Tim is always kicking it with me. What's up, Sharon? Sharon's in the building. Thanks for the comments on my page. Yeah, T. I went through your page and I like a lot of stuff, man. The YouTube grind, so I noticed that you always like my content, so I wanted to make sure I did the same. Sharon was in the building. What's up, Sharon? But yeah, T, you already know you're my man. But to stay focused, Noelle chooses Sami, Owen, and Jesse to join her on her reward. If you know, tonight after the competition, Jeff announced that the winner and two others was it 2 or 3? It was 3 others. The winner and 3 others would go on a sanctuary or private little getaway in which they would have some food and be able to rest. And as you know, Noelle won, and she picked Sami first. What did you think about the Sami pick? That was a little surprising for me. I would argue maybe a little illegitimate. Maybe Sami is a player who's kind of somewhere in the middle at the bottom even but she picked Sami for what it's worth. And then her second pick was Jesse. All right. Her third pick, to my surprise, once again, was Owen. Now, what I do find to be very interesting about her selection is that 2 of my picks were selected. As you know, I have Owen to win and Sami as a backup. I am very happy to note that this year in Survivor, I'm seeming to get it correct. I have 2 players that are still in the game in the bottom 7. So apparently, I'm doing a lot better with Survivor than I did in my picks for Big Brother. Anyway, the players read family letters in the sanctuary. This was a very touching moment in the episode. We saw some background information, so that was pretty cool. But anyway, eventually Sami breaks the somber mood and pitches Cassidy. We see Sami never want to let the game just roll by while everyone's still emotional. He pitches Cassidy for eviction, and Noelle pitches Carla. Now this was very surprising for me. If you know anything about how I feel about this game, I look at Carla as the godmother. So to see Noelle, take a shot at the godmother, you know how this goes. If you're going to take a shot at the boss, you better hit your shot. So we saw that happen during the festivities. Okay. But anyway, Noelle notes that Sami is scatterbrained, and she was hoping that by bringing Sami on the retreat, that maybe that would settle Sami's craziness. And now I don't know. I haven't seen that from Sami in this game, so that was pretty interesting to hear. People, it was actually more than one person who said that Sami's playing a very scattered and paranoid game, and I haven't seen that via the edit. So that was pretty interesting to see or hear other players describe Sami's game that way. But anyway, Noelle and Cassidy point out the need to get out the big threats. Cassidy points out the need to get out. Wait a minute. Cassidy points out the need to get out big threats as well. And of course, Cassidy pitches Noelle. So the reason I bring it up is because it happened twice where you had 2 players say, hey, now is the time to get out big players. And Noelle was one of those players. And of course, Cassidy was the other. And ironically, Cassidy noted Noelle as being a big player. Now, when Cassidy said that, a few things ran through my mind. Number one was, hey, Cassidy, welcome to the game. And, I've been very unfair to Cassidy up until this point, but I think I stand corrected. Cassidy has been someone who has certainly risen in my rankings. I didn't think she would be someone that I would pay attention to. She's pretty, she has the blonde hair, but we see that Cassidy is starting to find her legs in this game, and I was really impressed. But yeah, she knows Noelle. Now, how long has this been? How many times have I said this? Noelle is the biggest threat in the game. She has the story, she has the competitive spirit. So apparently Cassidy saw the same things I was seeing. My man Tim says, "There you go, got another like." All right, been a long day. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And by the way, T, happy holidays. And by the way, if you don't know, if you're watching this, check out both of Tim's pages. He has one for shirts and one for tents. If you look in the chat section, you'll see both. I'm telling you, amazing guy. And Tim, I saw your work on your tents, and I wish I was somewhere near you. I would definitely give you some business because I need tents in my car. But anyway, stay focused. the immunity challenge is a House of Cards balancing challenge. Who saw the immunity challenge tonight? Was that not the most intense and grueling competition ever? I mean, you had if you didn't see tonight, let me try to explain what I saw. Okay, you had to hold a lever which balanced a board, and then as that board was balanced via your holding, you had to reach across your body to grab these cards and place them on this balance beam to reach a certain height. This was by far one of the most grueling competitions. Now, we saw and heard I should say Jeff, say that, hey, we are at the 30-minute mark. And I was just thinking to myself, yo, I don't know how they're going to edit this, but I'm sure this competition is going to last forever because it's just a very tall task. No pun intended. Anyway, Cassidy wins immunity. Listen, I was very, very impressed with Cassidy's work tonight. I thought that she was absolutely one of the stronger players tonight. As I told you, three players. I want to know how you feel about them. Cassidy, Jesse, and Noelle. Who played the better game tonight? Who had the more impressive game tonight? And I will tell you, Cassidy was up there for me. The fact that she was able to win immunity, oh man, it was great to see. I think she's a late bloomer. And I will say on record, she has earned my respect. She's more than a little sweetheart that I pinned her out to be just from physical appearance. She's definitely a competitor. She's very fierce. She has a very silent strength, and I do appreciate that. But yeah, that was kind of cool to see. And I would definitely call her a late bloomer. Okay. But anyway, at camp, Gabler and Noelle suspect Cassidy and Carla are up to something. So when we get back after the competition, you see everybody doing their little scramble thing. And this was a surprise to me. I didn't know that Carla and Cassidy were so tight because once they get back to camp, Carla and Cassidy, they go about their business and start to move around and kind of play the game. I didn't know that those two were so close. And we saw that. All right. You're only an hour away. I'm only in Toledo. Oh, okay. Yeah. Michigan, Toledo. You're not that far, Tim. And I'm just saying, don't be surprised if I spring up because I do need tents in my car. I'm serious. And I saw your tents. I see a lot of bad tents. That was not a bad tent. It was smooth. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people's cars with bubbles in their tents. It's just sad to see. All right. But anyway, staying focused. I hope Sammy this is Sharon. Sharon says, I hope Sammy or Owen go all in. Let me see here. I hope Sammy or Owen to go all in the Survivor Season 43. Sammy or Owen. Those are my picks, Sharon. And so wait, Sharon, I just want to clarify. Are you saying your picks are also Sammy and Owen? And if not, can you let me know for the people that might be watching at a later time, who are your picks to win the game tonight? Or I should say the game this season, season 43. All right, getting back to it. Jesse struggles to potentially vote out Noelle. We saw that Jesse had some conversations with the audience, if you will, because Noelle, after winning the reward challenge, allowed again Sammy, Owen, and who were the three people? Sammy, Owen, and Jesse to go on the retreat. And because Jesse was picked, he struggled with the idea of voting out Noelle. But he also said something that was very interesting. He said, I know that Noelle did an amazing thing for me tonight. However, he remembers that his obligation to his family surpasses anything that anyone can do for him in that game or in the game. And as such, he realizes that there may become a time when he has to make a difficult decision, and that includes possibly eliminating Noelle. Anyway, Jesse, man, This is why I asked Cassidy, Noelle, or Jesse. Here's where Jesse shines. Jesse lays out three three ways to craft a blindside. And let me tell you, the way that Survivor edited this particular portion, I would argue was very, very impressive. Okay. So here it is. Jesse lays out the perfect blindside. Number one, you have to create a cover story. Now, as a Big Brother fan, and I'm sure T and Sharon can concur, this was something that crosses the line. This is not just a Survivor tactic, but what Jesse lays out could also be utilized in Big Brother. So here's what he does. Here's how to craft the perfect blindside according to Jesse. Number one, create a cover story. So he goes around and he's telling everybody these different things. He's creating the perfect cover story. Number two, find a fall guy. So he finds someone to blame. And unfortunately, Sammy, my second pick, was one of the people that was selected. But yeah, Sammy let one too many words fly out, and as such, that gave Jesse the perfect amount of leverage to use Sammy as the fall guy. But really clever on Jesse's part. I'm not mad at him for doing that. And number three, have a backup plan. So Jesse laid out all three components, and I would argue there's maybe more to it than that, but he lays out those three diameters, and that was great. Cover story, fall guy, and backup plan. And Jesse got just a bit too cocky because in crafting this backup plan, he goes and talks with Gabler, and he kind of tries to help Gabler see things his way. Now, Jesse said something really, really important tonight. He said it's not necessarily about getting people to vote your way and telling them how to vote. Because we're in the bottom 8 in this particular episode, it's about making people or having people understand how their position improves given your pitch. So Gabler is told, hey, if you do it this way, you'll be in a better position the following week. And we as a viewer, I was thinking to myself, that is a great plan, Jesse. Great job with telling or coercing Gabler without necessarily forcing him one way or the other. You're giving him all the evidence that, hey, if you do this, then you'll be in a better position because of it. But we see that Gabler once again surprises me, and he's a much sharper and smarter player than I've given him credit for. So Gabler sees, right through what Jesse's trying to pitch. And furthermore, Gabler sees Jesse and Cody as the biggest, dangerous, strongest power duo in the game. And this is where I think things will change moving into next week, because Gabler has a conversation with some people. He's like, hey, Jesse and Cody, they're they're starting to get really, really bossy, and they're getting very comfortable. So that was good to see. My main man Tim says, you look up Tent Studio, he's in the 313. Oh, okay. You got some recommendations. I appreciate that, my man. And then Sharon says, yes, Sammy and Owen are my favorite guys in the game. Wow. Okay, Sharon, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that you were going for Sammy and Owen as well. But hey, I don't know how I picked those two, but I'm glad to see they're both still in the game. And it's really surprising because both Sammy and Owen were of the Baka tribe. And to think they're still in the game is crazy. And I think even now, Owen is getting better as we go. Why? Because he's not in the spotlight. He's always in the background. He's never front and center. Sammy, on the other hand, is a little different. He seems to be more engaged, more involved. I'm not sure how he got this far, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, so that's what happens. But anyway, Jeff asks Noelle about her reward victory, and Noelle gives context. Now, this was a very surprising part for me in this episode, because as we go to tribal council, Jeff, he has his little deliberations. He's talking to everyone. He asks Noelle, like, hey, so can you give us some information or give us how it felt to be, behind so bad in the reward challenge and then to turn things around and win? And Noelle, in my personal opinion, did not notice the cues. Jeff is basically giving her a open runway to gloat about her reward win. And what I was hoping Noelle would do is just tone it down a little bit. No, Noelle said she went full hero mode and just like, hey, I was feeling like this, and then she says, then I came back and I conquered and I won. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, Noelle, your name's on the chopping block. You don't want to remind people that you're such a big threat and that your story is so motivating and empowering. And by her gloating so bad, I just knew that This not this in this particular situation, it's my opinion that Noelle should have just said, "Hey, I'm just happy to be here, Jeff," or something to that effect. But no, she went full hero mode and she let everyone know, I'm doing this for the people at home, the handicapped children who don't believe in themselves. She went full hero mode, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay. Noelle definitely is not picking up on some things here. But next, I want to go to what Gabler said. So at this particular tribal council, again during deliberations and discussion, Gabler made a heck of an analogy. He says that right now in the game, you have assassins. He says killers. Jeff says assassins. I'm gonna go with assassins. He says right now in the bottom eight, you basically have these assassins who are shooting silencers. And again, we're talking about that blind side. And Gabler's basically saying, hey, right now in the game, nobody's shooting with, bazookas and grenade launchers and trying to make these big moves. Right now, everybody's taking silent shots and taking out their opposition in the game. So amazing analogy. Right now you have these really good players in the game, and no one's making these bold checker moves. Everybody's playing chess. And I like the way that Gabler phrased that assassin silencer. I thought that was really clever. Anyway, Noelle brings up someone having a idol in front of Carla. Another bad move by Noelle. So again, Jeff goes back to Noelle. And I'm not sure if Jeff was playing the puppet master here, realizing that Noelle just has no filter. But Noelle brings up the fact that the reason that we're shooting these silencers, quote unquote, is because someone has an idol. Now Noelle knows that Carla is that someone. She knows that Carla may have an idol. In fact, I believe everyone at that particular point is about 95% sure that Carla has it. So Noelle, in her infinite wisdom, says, "Hey Jeff, we're playing this way because someone has an idol and we have to get rid of it." And I'm like, Noelle, you don't say so. Naturally, Carla hears this and she knows that Noelle is talking about her and she rolls her eyes. And again, I'm thinking to myself, Noelle, why would you say that right in front of Carla at tribal council? And I think the reason she does this is very clear. Noelle felt as if she was untouchable, and I can't. It's hard to disagree with her. She didn't see everyone putting the game first over her story, over her. So I think that's what it was. She was very cocky. She was fresh off of a huge move and getting rid of James. And I think to anyway, uh, soon after all of the deliberations are done and everyone places their votes, Jeff asks the question he always asks: is there anyone here who would like to play a immunity idol? And Carla does not budge. I'll be honest with you, at this particular point in the game, I had no doubt about it that Carla was going home. I felt like she was going. And when Jeff asked those faithful question, Carla doesn't play her idol. I have to know, at this point in the game, are you playing that idol? If you're Carla, are you not playing? Are you keeping it? And I'll be honest with you, 100%. I've seen a lot of Survivor. I've seen a lot of players go home with advantages, especially idols, right? Immunity idols. And when Carla doesn't play it, I'm thinking to myself, Carla, I know you're smart. I don't think I'm glad she didn't do it. Obviously, she's a lot better player than I am, but why go home with it? And of course, within the first three votes, you're starting to think, okay, Carla's in trouble. But hey, you know what happened, right? Noelle is voted out. Man, who saw that coming? I thought that Noelle had one of the most incredible episode arcs, going from being this amazing victor to being voted out the game. I mean, she that was like like 3 weeks of Survivor in that one episode for her, because she just went through so many emotional challenges and imbalances, and I just thought it was really amazing. But it goes back to two questions that I would like to answer before I conclude this episode. How impressive was Noelle tonight? Out of 10, I'm giving her an 8 out of 10. And it's mainly due to her performance in the reward challenge. I think outside of the reward challenge, she didn't do so well in terms of the immunity challenge, and also at tribal council with some of those stories. I didn't think that was smart. But I have to just go and double up on the reward performance. How impressive was that? Beautiful. In terms of the strongest player tonight between Jesse, Cassidy, or Noelle, I know some people might want to throw Gabler in there, but I'm going to keep it really, really simple and just say those three: Noelle, Cassidy, and Jesse. of those three players, who did I think played the better game tonight? I would have said Noelle, but she got evicted, and I think that just doesn't make sense logically. Therefore, I am willing to say Cassidy played the better game tonight. Why? Because she won immunity, and if she had not won immunity, she and Carla would have been on the block, and I think Cassidy would have went home. But because maybe Carla would have played her immunity idol, but because Cassidy wins the immunity challenge, that was amazing. In fact, uh, is that win that I think ultimately sends Noelle home. And though I like Jesse's, puppet mastering, I think that the fact he won nothing, and also that Gabler was able to, decode his whole gameplay. That's why I wouldn't select Jesse as the number one top dog for the night. I'm going to go ahead and say Cassidy because she survived and won. Really awesome. So let me know what you think about Noelle's performance. Let me know what you think about Jesse, Noelle, and Cassidy tonight. And if you have someone you want to throw in, please do so. I will get her 7. Hey, I will give her a 7. Yeah, okay. So Sharon says she would give Noelle a 7 tonight, and that's exactly about where I'm at. I thought that she played a pretty solid game in terms of the reward challenge. I would say here's how it went for me. She was at a 10 at the reward challenge, and everything after the reward challenge just kind of pulled away from that 10. I thought she did okay after the tribe got back to camp and they're starting to deliberate, trying to figure out who's going to go out. I thought that Noelle did okay with kind of, not panicking too much and not overplaying. But again, she lost a lot of points for me. When you look at the tribal council, those 2 comments, that took away from that 10 for me, and that's why I gave her an 8. Sharon gives her a 7, and I respect. I like 7 or 8. I'm okay with both of those numbers. All right, 7.5 if you want to average it out. But yeah, let me know what you think about tonight. Let me know what you think about Noelle's performance. Are you happy or sad Noelle is gone? And I'll be honest with you. Can I be honest for a moment? I'm so happy she's gone. I told you she rubbed me the wrong way when she got rid of James, and I couldn't understand why. And when I saw that move, I'm like, okay, she crossed the line for me. And I don't even like James that much, but it's just like, I guess the confusing part for me was, how is Noelle going so far in this game, given her story and her potential to win the game? That was so surprising for me. I'm like, Noelle would have been the first 3 people on my list to get out the game had I been in this season. I would have saw the handicap, and I would have saw the fact that she was not hindered by the handicap, and I would have like, okay, she has to go. And then when she starts to win, it's like, okay, at this particular point, the sirens are blaring. This woman is a huge threat. So without question, Noelle would have had to go for me. All right, but she just, for some reason, she just kept making it. It kept going week to week. But yes, but that's all I got for you tonight. You all enjoy yourself. Stay safe. Thank you to Sharon and my main man Tim for joining me for this episode. If you're watching this after the fact, you could have joined me as well. I think we started around 9:15, 9:25, somewhere in that circumference. And you could have been right here with me talking some games. So if you missed it, I do appreciate you liking the video and all the other cool stuff. And I'll see you next week when we figure out who goes home of the top 7. Yeah, it's about to get interesting. But anyway, good night and peace.